If you're someone who's struggling to hit submissions from side control, this video is for you. I'm gonna run through 3 very easy, simple, and effective, maybe slightly mean submissions that you can hit there to let you win more matches, have more fun, and make new friends. So with that, let's jump in. All right, number 1, this is more of a side body or side control, however you like to call the position, choke, right? If done incorrectly, it can feel and look like a neck crank, but if you do it correctly, it's very much a choke. So as you can see here in this example, I'm in side control. What I do is as my opponent rocks up towards me, I look for the underhook on their top arm. Now my other arm is going to hook grip over the back of their neck, and I'm going to wrap around to the front so that I can grab the deeper section of his jawline. So essentially I'm reaching across his jaw so I can get a good grip on that jawline. Now, once I have this in position, I'm all set. I'm going to switch my hips, as you can see here, and I'm going to lean back. And as I lean back, I'm folding his chin towards his chest. What I'm doing is I'm trapping my hand in between his neck and his jawline. It's similar to the guillotine in a way where you're trapping your hand between their jawline and their neck and their chest, thus creating an obstruction to their breathing. So if they're really tired, this is gonna work really well. Now, if they aren't tired, you're just gonna have to hold this a little bit longer, and that's absolutely fine. What I really like about this submission is that even if you don't land it, not only are you still in a safe place, you're on top, but you're gonna tax their gas tank completely or close to it. This is a hard position to fight out of. Not only are you putting them in a compromised position, you're also putting pressure on their rib cage and their lungs, making it harder to breathe in, even if the choke isn't on. As I always like to say, if you're with your training partners, you're at your school, go easy on each other with this one until you know what it feels like. But if you're in a tournament, go ahead and full send this thing. It's a fantastic addition to add to your tool belt. If you're not repping it yet, highly recommend you start. And I just want to take a second to give my sponsor, X Martial, a shout out. On the mats, you've got seconds to react and sometimes even less. You train for hours to move with precision. Your gear should keep up. X Martial makes high quality, high performance no-gi gear. The fit is clean and the material durable, breathable, and built for battle. One thing I can't stand about certain no-gi brands is how quickly the material falls apart and how quickly the designs wash away. Literally every single one of my rash guards that I own from X Martial has stood the test of time. I've been training jiu-jitsu for 9 years and I still have rash guards that look brand new. And since we're talking about the designs, they're original, they're unique, they help you look good. If you're gonna go compete and you don't feel you look your best, you think that's helping you in your performance, you wanna go out and feel good about the person that you've built. And no-gi attire definitely helps with that. So if you want to look as good as me and probably even better, get over to xmartial.com and grab yourself some gear. I know you'll be happy you did. Look good, feel sharp, roll hard. Let's get back to the video. Now this next one is the far side armbar, and the reason I'm choosing this for an easy side control or side body submission is because it, to me personally, with my experience, was the easiest armbar for me to hit. Initially, learning to hit an armbar from mount was difficult. Learning to hit an armbar from the guard was difficult. For whatever reason, side control was much easier. So as you can see here, I'm in side control on my training partner. With my inside elbow, I'm going to get an underhook and I'm going to place my elbow nice and tight into his ribs, chest area. I do like to apply downward pressure through my elbow as I'm setting this up because it helps pin my opponent where I want them. It makes it harder for him to move around essentially. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to step wide and place my free hand on the mat behind him. Now, I've seen several different ways where people can spin around to the back to get the far side armbar. This is just one way to do it. Keep in mind that there are other ways, right? The way I'm showing you isn't the only way. It's not the only right way, right? It's just the way that I prefer. So once I have my underhook in place and I'm applying downward pressure through my elbow, I step wide and I place my hand behind his back so that I can then step over his head and spin off my back leg while keeping my hips close to his body. Now, a couple things to pay attention to here. The leg that I left behind is the one that's going to drape across his chest or his head. And we want that as high up as possible because if he sits up, he's going to be able to get out. We need to apply downward pressure to his face. So whether your foot ends up in his armpit or above his shoulder, it doesn't truly matter as long as you have your leg over his head. That's what's going to help keep him pinned to the ground. Now, I like this variation of the armbar because I don't need to have both legs across his body. As you can see here, my outside leg or my left leg that I stepped with up and over and behind my opponent ends up tucked under his back, very close to his armpit. As I begin to sit back, I'm also pinching my knees together, keeping his thumb pointed away from my hips, which in this position is up towards the sky. And as I sit back, pulling his wrist towards my chest and applying a hip thrust through his elbow, which allows for the break to happen. On camera, this may look complex and you may be feeling like that's not going to be easy, but try not to create a narrative that you don't know is true yet. Until you try this, maybe it isn't the one for you. Maybe you try it and you don't like it. That's absolutely fine, but don't create narratives for these moves before you try them. I'm telling you, I know what it looks like. I know it looks complex. Once you get into the movement of this, you rep it a little bit, you start to get used to this. It's very easy to hit. It's very snappy. It's very quick. And it's one of those submissions where you land this in a sparring match and you almost like, at least for me, I'm like, okay, I am good at jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? So as we watch this one from start to finish, you can see that it's very fluid and it's very safe for you. As long as you keep pressure on their head, they're not going to be able to sit up and stack you, which makes this truly worth the effort, I feel. So if you're not trying this one yet, go ahead and get your reps because I think you're going to like it. All right, last but not least, maybe the simplest but most brutal of all the submissions here. This is going to be a diaphragm crush, which is similar to the soul taker I've shown in separate videos, but less complex. So as you can see here, I'm in side control. I pop up into knee on belly, but what I'm not doing is exactly knee on belly. I'm doing knee on diaphragm. You want to keep in mind that when you're doing knee on belly, the last place you want to be with your knee is right on their hips because their hips are strong. There's the pelvis bone in there so that you're not really encroaching in their ability to breathe at all. Knee on belly is a bit more effective. It makes it difficult to breathe. You're going to get a grunt out of them. But if you go knee on diaphragm, which is basically in the center of the lower rib cage, right below the sternum, and the diaphragm is what pulls air into your lungs. So if you can compress that, it makes it very difficult to breathe, especially if you catch an opponent who's tired. So as you can see here, I jump up into knee on diaphragm. He immediately places both of his hands on my knee because this is uncomfortable and he wants to address it. Because his hands are on my knee, his head is left unattended and free for the taking. So as you can see here, I grab both my hands underneath his head and I just lift up while driving my knee through his diaphragm. You should hear a hard exhale, or if you don't get that exhale, you will see their face turn bright red and you'll probably see some veins pop out. This is your landmark, letting you know you're doing it right. You just got to hold it. Maybe takes a couple seconds. This is not something that's an instant tap. It's definitely what I would call a pressure cooker type of submission, which I can cook my opponent here. Even if he doesn't tap, he's going to be really tired by the time I decide to let go of this. You're either zapping his will to fight, his endurance, his stamina, or you're getting the submission, and it wasn't hard at all. Now, I will say for ethical reasons, this is a bit of a mean submission, so I would always communicate with your training partners. Obviously, if it's a tournament, go ahead and full send it, but with your training partners, your friends, talk about it first, like walk through it slow so they understand what's going on, because you're not trying to be that guy, but still it's a useful tactic whether you're trying to wear your opponent out or get the win. So if you're not trying this one, it's very easy, very safe. You're not at risk. Go ahead and give it some reps. And if you guys have any other submissions from side control that you really like, that you can lean on, that work really, really well for you, that aren't complex, drop them in the comments section. You guys know I love to read what you guys are learning, what you guys are doing. And obviously it helps other people coming through this channel. I try to aim my content at a lot of white belts. So you guys that have knowledge, you're helping more people than you realize. With that, you know how we like to end them. Sometimes backwards, always forwards. I'll see you in the next one.